It's a race that doesn't stop a nation, but it makes traffic really busy around the southern suburbs. It's called the Caulfield Cup. It was a blowout result, and well done to you, Pots, because you included Boom Time on your set to your subscribers. Well played to you.
Thank you, mate. Now, I just want to say, so it really frustrates me when people back a lot of horses in the race and then claim on Twitter like it was the only horse they backed, and put themselves on the pedestal. I backed 5 horses in that race. My punters that follow my stuff backed 5 horses in the race. 2 of the bets were savers.
This is Gary. Bring it over, please, Gary.
Former Footscray legend.
Well, you can't be a former legend. Always.
Yeah, he's a legend. Footscray, he's a legend.
The All Nations. We're at the All Nations who look after us very well.
So I saved on Bonneval and Jonas Vermeer, and I backed Humidor for a really good result, Harlan for a really good result, and Boomtown for a good result. So that's exactly what happened.
Well done.
Okay. Now, one of my punters wrote to me and asked me to go through how I found Boom Time. So a bit indulgent, but why not? Now, I saw that an exchange between you and Adam Blankout this morning, which I loved.
Very funny.
What have we got? Weight Schmates versus Time Schmimes.
Yeah, I've been on Weight Schmate for a while, and he's always, and ironically, this is the ironic part. He's always used his defensive weights under the Sir Isaac Newton theory. And who's the Caulfield? Isaac Newton. There you go.
So the first thing I want to say is Adam was saying that under the first cut old Don Scott principles, Boom Time comes up $12. Now,
why would it come up $12?
Because he had a course and distance win with 58 kilos. You take that run, you make the adjustment for the weight, and he's right hard in the market.
Good camp? Would he include good camp?
Yeah, I don't know enough about all those theories, but that's the basic principles of it. Is course and distance win with a big weight going to a lightweight. You know what I mean? That's a factor worth considering for punters. Now, I have a similar procedure. I do my first cut before I look at anything else. Just do the first cut, let it fall where it is. Now, my first cut had Boom Time $18. Okay, then I go and make all the other adjustments. And the interesting part about the race for me was all the horses at the pointy end of the market, none of them had a course and distance rating to use. None of them. Okay, so you were sort of making a judgment call on all those horses. Whereas there was Boom Time, he had a figure that you could use if you wanted to. You had to decide how strongly you wanted to use it. And if you were a weight schmate man, or to give him a bonus because he's carrying a lighter weight.
But, this is all part of it. Once that day when he won with 58 kilos, you know what he did?
Very good time.
It
was a fast course and distance win.
100%.
And he was coming off an excellent fitness building platform run.
Yes.
Backing up 7 days later. So there are lots of things about that horse that meant you had to be careful with him. You couldn't just eliminate him. Right? Yeah. So now when I was... So I'm looking at all those horses at the point of the market, and I'm doing the speed map, and I'm thinking about what I want to do in this race. And I'm thinking, okay, because people would say, if you back Boom Time, how come you didn't back Lord Fandango? Well, to me, that was the map. If I was going to back a roughie in that race, it had to be one that was going to settle in front of the key chances in the race.
Yes.
And Boom Time fitted that profile beautifully, and I, as I said, had the suspicion that the fence was going to be a good position to be, right? So I could just see, and I had this conversation with Tim Bailey, the Sandown track manager, at Caulfield on Friday, with James, who came out and walked the track with me, that to me, you're going to have there was a chance that you'd have Sir Isaac Newton, in my opinion, single gauge, wrongly in my opinion. He's our Rocky, and there might have been one other horse at the pointy end of this field that are going to have a complete heart attack at the home turn or prior to the home turn, and they're going to be coming back through the field with all the key runners in behind them. There's a chance that a horse that's right behind them, gets around them, is going to get away from the field on the home turn. And to me, that horse was Boom Time. So that was the main reason I included him in my selections. That was the main reason, because he was in front of the key chances and the carnage caused by those other horses going back through. Now the truth is, Single Gaze didn't. She just kept going.
Yes.
So well done to her. And Sir Isaac Newton certainly did disappear, and he's our Rocky was. He was never in the bishop. So they're all the factors.
So I penned him through going at such a brutal speed the week before, 7-day backup.
Yeah.
I've got a reason now in hindsight.
Mm-hmm.
But what was your take on it?
Well, I did that. I actually did that. I mean, this is going to sound crazy. 2 years ago, I backed the United States in the Melbourne Cup off the brutal run 9 days earlier in the Moonee Valley Cup.
Yep.
And just eliminated Prince of Penzance from the race as a place chance.
Yes.
Because I thought it was a gutbuster for him, and he led that race.
Yes.
And ever since then, I've thought I'm just careful not to pen those horses, particularly if they're at big odds.
Yeah.
The threshold for those horses is not as high.
That's right.
Do you know what I mean? So there was another runner in the race, John Snow. Okay. Yeah. John Snow, sort of to me, had very similar credentials to Boom Time. Yep. They mapped the same. Yeah. They were coming up with similar type runs. But the difference was John Snow was $15 or something. Yeah. Higher threshold for him to be a betting proposition.
Yes.
Boom Time was 50 to 1.
Yep. So, yeah. Well, so the from complete hindsight, of course, while Boom Time went at plus 13 lengths, which generally says flat run, on Saturday, this is just Vince's measurement, not projection, but measurement, he went plus 3. Mm-hmm. So he's going fast for, let's say, Humidor, for Humidor's profile, but he's going 10 lengths slower than suits him. When he won at Caulfield that other time, he went plus 12. So it did flatten him to a degree, because he went 10 lengths slower, but that suited him perfectly on the day. He's also great tenacity. So and the other thing that has to be taken into account was, because a few didn't turn up, it wasn't a massive bar.
No, yeah, that's true.
And that all adds
so
up.
I actually think, watching the race back again, the two jockeys that get massive ticks, Kathy O'Hara and Corey Parrish, because they rode their horses very naturally. Now, it maybe just suited them and they got lucky, right? But their horses ran naturally throughout the race. There was an awful lot of other horses in the race that were outside their comfort zone, whether they were either going too slow or too fast. You know what I mean? Like, they just weren't. It wasn't a natural race for them. Like, Humidor never looked comfortable in the race, really. I would say Jonas Vermeers was struggling to keep up with different.
Punters.com.au sent out, because I don't listen to you do, Darren Weir gave Damien Lane a fair cook. I'm watching the race going, what are you doing there? And then post-race in the jockey interviews, he said, I didn't want to be there, the horse took me there, I didn't want to fight it. So I just go, we're sitting on our chair, they're sitting on the animal. But Weary gave it to him, didn't he?
We did, he gave it, he was really unhappy with Craig Williams. Yeah. And I understand that's not what that horse needed leading into a Melbourne Cup, a Mealy start. No. I just don't get that at all. So that was interesting. So he was very unhappy with Craig Williams, and he was disappointed with Damien Lane. He heard the explanation. I don't think he wanted to accept it.
Right.
You know, so he heard Damien Lane's explanation and went, don't know about that. Just not a happy camper. And you know, there was some gaps sort of almost opening up for Damien Lane as they went past the winning post the first time, but they weren't really there, you know, and Ollie was very aware of where he was, and Ollie wasn't going to make it easy for him, so it was just, you know, it's just one of those, it's just the way it worked out. So
well, that's what, and in his two biggest wins, no one could argue this, I think he's only won twice in Australia, isn't he? But in the Australian Cup and in the Mackay, they went real fast up front, and he slotted behind, and apparently he's a real rev-head of the horse. So he overrated. I mean, that's the caper. I kept Ventura Storm on side. It's pulled up with sore. What happened with you? What happened with Harlem?
Well, Harlem was the other horse in the race that travelled really sweetly. So I think it was Wayne Dunn, wasn't it? Anyway, whoever rode Harlem ticked there. He travelled into the race, and then he didn't really get much room in the home straight, but I'd say he was slightly disappointing in the home straight. He didn't do as much as I thought he would have.
You just gave Kathy O'Hara a rap for single gaze, rightly so. So lone leader, you can almost ignore a lone leader if the second horse is rated properly. Which he did. And it actually rated exactly speed-wise to the 800 what its normal profile is. So it rated the horse to suit the horse rather than whatever the Terror did. Can we myth bust this bullshit that taking the field up to the leaders is a negative? Why is it a negative? If you're travelling properly, comfortably, and the horse is in its comfort zone, I mean,
I think why it's a negative is that jockeys tend to get anxious because they're mindful.
It's a jockey.
They're mindful of the horses coming around them. Okay, and them being done by momentum, right? So they've got a really difficult judgment call to make as to when to go and how quick to go.
Right. So it's a challenge for the jockey, but it's not a momentum.
So in the end, bridging that gap to the leader prior to the home turn, the call was made by Craig Williams, who got very anxious, I thought, and Kathy just sort of went with him.
Yeah.
You know, Corey Parrish was delighted because he just went, oh, beautiful, I'm just getting carted straight into this. And then Harlan behind him. So
I was with a few on Friday, and they said, what's your best bet? I said, I'll tell you what my best bet is. My best bet is back Marmello today for the Melbourne Cup. So it was that time of day. What's your take for Marmello going forward as of today?
Yeah, it's sort of... The Melbourne Cup's... I just don't want to have too many preconceived ideas about
It's
it.
too short now.
I just want to wait till...
Good arbitrage if you did.
I want to wait till Derby Day night, barrier draws out, and I want to look at the Melbourne Cup with completely fresh eyes and think about these horses then, because I think... I set myself a new rule last year for after last Melbourne Cup, and that is trying to identify horses that are about to do something they've never done. They're going to go to a whole new level, because I think that's the sort of achievement the performance level you need to get to win a Melbourne Cup these days, because it's such a good race.
Yes.
The bar is so high. So yeah, I just that's a really long answer to a really simple question. My answer is I don't think he's good enough to win a Melbourne Cup, but when I look more into it Melbourne Cup week, I might change my mind.
I think I'd be surprised if it doesn't ease a bit. There's always
what price is it?
$6 or something.
Oh no. I'm thinking he's a 20 to 1 chance.
Yeah.
That's
So
what
the
I'm thinking.
jockey of the last bit on the Caulfield Cup, the jockey Marmello is Hugh Bowman. How are you making your judgment call on Hugh Bowman?
I can't believe there's not been more written about this or more questions. Hugh Bowman's week last week was embarrassing. He took no part on several horses hard in the market.
Yep.
They were disgraceful. Now, his ride on a sign on Saturday was an all-time low for Huey. I'm going to go strong on this because it's infuriating. Okay, he was in the box seat to get the perfect trail on that track on Saturday, and he removed himself from that position to go 3 wide up the hill working hard at Caulfield. How that's giving the horse any hope whatsoever. What was it in aid of you? Just so you don't have to push out of a tight spot in the race so that you have no risk of a suspension? Huey created all the circumstances in that race that saw a sign and turn it around, finish in Nebraska. It was a disgraceful ride, and I mean, honestly, it just seems to me at the moment that Huey's decided he's only interested in one horse, and every other horse he's on doesn't really seem to have any concern about how it runs. Now, this is on top of what he did on Cox Plate Day last year, okay, where he used other rides to identify the best part of the track. He was
on
wings.
falling and penetrometer.
It was just, you know, so I mean, I think Hugh Bowman's probably a great bloke. I don't know him personally. He's a champion rider, but some of his rides last week, I mean, they looked disinterested to me. He just took no part at any stage, and it's bloody disappointing from a punting point of view. I was on lots of them. So talking through my kick,
Nothing wrong
give
with that.
it to me, whatever.
That means you're involved, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Talking through your kick. That's it for the Caulfield Cup.